Chapter 235 Rescuing and Escaping. Wang Qiu's face was as cold as ever as she raised the golden dragon spear high above her head. She released the powerful golden aura from before, riveting golden light radiating from her body. The cutting aura was like the sharp edge of a blade as it forced the large mass of beast souls back. What's going on? Hua Yuao was astonished, amazed and doubtful at the same time. Never in his wildest dreams would he have expected that Wang Qiu could form an alliance with this female dark golden terraclaw bear in battle. It seemed like she didn't intend to block the bear when she charged in its direction, and was trying to direct it instead. What kind of ability was this? It was simply too terrifying. Did that mean that someone who possessed the golden dragon martial soul had the ability to command dark golden terraclaw bears? The dark golden terraclaw bear's existence was actually comparable to the golden dragon in terms of lineage. Right when Hua Yuao was still feeling shocked, the female bear stomped her enormous paws as she charged towards the three brothers. Her body erupted with intense dark golden light as her fur stood on end. Her talons extended from her paws, and huge claws that were at least 2 meters long flickered with chilly light. Her claws crossed each other through the air as countless blade shadows flashed by and reached every corner in a 100-meter radius around her. The beast souls were highly resistant to physical attacks, but the bear's attacks were simply too sharp, and the beast souls were weakened wherever the blades crossed. The three brothers immediately felt an agonizing heartache. They had already lost many beast souls when they came to hunt and slay the male bear, but the male bear's addition had made up for their losses in the end. This continuous battering caused them great suffering, as every beast soul was ultimately part of their strength and fighting ability. Two grey clouds moved out in an instant, and the beast souls retreated along with them to the periphery. Zhongli and Zhongluren glared at Wang Qiu, who was still sitting on the female bear's shoulders. The bear couldn't have broken through their siege so easily if it hadn't been for her. The bear didn't care about all this at this moment as she strode towards her lair. There was nothing more important to her than her cubs. All of a sudden, a scarlet golden beam of light arrived on the scene in a flash, and a majestic scarlet gold lion intercepted her. This mighty lion seemed like it was sculpted from scarlet red crystal, and it flickered with brilliant colors. Even the dark golden terraclaw bear's fearsome aura was weak in the moment it appeared. A beast soul. This was actually a beast soul. However, it was so much more powerful and formidable than the other beast souls. Hua Yuao had wanted to find an opportunity to escape, but this lion's appearance made him settle down once again. This looks like the scarlet golden lion. The scarlet golden lion's status amongst soul beasts was a little inferior to the dark golden terraclaw bear. However, it could be considered a subspecies of golden soul beasts, and was a mutated form of the golden lion king. A scarlet golden lion's power was comparable to a dark golden terraclaw bear if both soul beasts had similar cultivation levels. At least, it had enough strength to fight against the bear. The scarlet golden lion was just a beast soul, but one could tell from its aura that it had possessed at least 30,000 years of cultivation. Of all the soul beasts that Hua Yuao had seen, besides the several mighty ones that had more than 100,000 years of cultivation, the scarlet golden lion was probably the strongest one in terms of fighting ability. The scarlet golden lion roared into the sky the moment it appeared. Its muscular body that seemed almost material proved how drastically different it was from normal beast souls. The dark golden terraclaw bear paused momentarily, but anything that prevented her from protecting her children was considered an enemy at this moment. She lashed out ferociously with her right claw, and it was a dark golden terraclaw that contained every ounce of her strength. The colossal claw seemed like it was going to tear the sky apart as it descended from the sky and slapped down fiercely. The lion wasn't weak, and it shook its head as a large spherical light projection emanated from its head and immediately expanded to a diameter of more than 10 meters. This light projection was actually the enlarged image of its own head. Clang! The bear's claw was bounced back after the sharp collision, and an intense tremor almost shook Hua Yuao off of the cave wall. The lion's radiance dimmed for a moment, but quickly returned to normal, and it roared ferociously once more. This lion could actually take a hit from her. It lived up to its name as an entity that was comparable to the dark golden terraclaw. Hua Yuao had been observing the brothers' beast souls this whole time. He realized that most of these beast souls could only use spiritual attacks, and they used spiritual power to get through to their opponents. However, there were several relatively formidable ones that retained the ability to attack with soul power, and the scarlet golden lion was undoubtedly the best of the best in this category. Hua Yuao even felt that this lion probably still had almost as much strength as it had when it was still alive. Another sphere of grey fog separated from the lion while Hua Yuao was still feeling astounded. It transformed into a shadow riding on the scarlet golden lion's back. The eldest of the brothers, Zhonglishan's expression wasn't much better than those of his brothers. He had never thought that his plan could be ruined like that, at the hands of a young woman. Who are you? Zhonglishan exclaimed as he raised the staff in his hands. The lion charged forward ferociously, and it engaged in battle with the bear as he levitated in midair and gazed at Wang Qiu in the distance. Wang Qiu said coldly, "Someone that wants your life." Her 6 soul rings sparkled brilliantly as she spoke. Zhonglishan snapped his head around at Zhongli and Zhongluren. "Have we succeeded?" Zhongli's face was black as he replied, "All gone. There's nothing left. It seems like this company isn't that easy to deal with. What should we do?" Zhonglishan's eyes narrowed as a savage aura burst from his body. He said coldly, "Release our origin beast souls. Every single one of them has to die. We won't have to worry about getting what we want as long as they're dead." Zhongli and Zhongluren began to move right when his voice dropped, and 2 beams of light glowed from their bodies. The jewels at the tips of their staves erupted with brilliant and blinding light. Zhongli unleashed a fearsome tiger. This tiger exuded dark green light. It was a netherworld ghost tiger, which was also an entity that stood at the top of the world of soul beasts. Its body looked even more illusory than normal beast souls, but it charged the dark golden terraclaw bear the moment it made a move, and gave the scarlet golden lion more chances to attack. Zhongluren unleashed a ferocious leopard that shone with brown light. Its skin was also brown, with patterns like golden coins all over its body. It was the smallest of the 3 origin beast souls, but it vanished into the air the moment it appeared, and a brown streak flashed by in the next moment. The fur on the bear's back flew into the sky as part of it was shaved off. Even though she wasn't hurt, the intense pain made her even more hysterical and crazed than before. Hua Yuao saw the brothers' abilities as evil soul masters with more clarity now after observing them. Their main strength was their enslaved beast souls, which were separated into various categories. The strongest of those souls were probably the origin beast souls that they had just released, and each of them probably only had one, while all the others were just normal beast souls. The female bear was already weak, and she was immediately at a disadvantage and beaten back as the 3 origin soul beasts joined up and assaulted her. Wang Qiu made her move right at this moment. She swung the golden dragon spear in her hands and pierced in a certain direction without warning. An indescribable and shrill tearing sound could be heard, and a black dash appeared in the air from the single strike. A brown shadow flickered once and an infuriated roar was heard immediately afterwards. She had actually captured the Ghost Shadow Leopard Emperor's movements, and wounded it with just one attack. However, Wang Qiu's action also immediately triggered the Ghost Shadow Leopard Emperor's wrath. A streak of brown light instantly circled and flickered around the bear crazily. The spear in Wang Qiu's hands waltzed continuously, even though she could accurately predict and grasp the opportunity to defend against the leopard's attacks every time, and she was able to hold on with her own fearsome strength. She only had 6 rings. It was not difficult to imagine how powerful these beast souls were since they were these 3 brothers' origin beast souls. Their soul skills were all meant to amplify their beast souls, and their martial soul true bodies in the fog made them incredibly fast, while most physical attacks simply couldn't hurt them at all. The 3 brothers separated in 3 directions as circle after circle of light expanded and continuously amplified their origin beast souls. The truth was that the 3 brothers had no choice but to release their origin beast souls. They would never use their origin beast souls under normal circumstances, as these origin beast souls were tied to their own spirits, even though they were extremely powerful. They would also be wounded if any harm came to their origin soul beasts. But Zhongli and Zhongluren had lost too many beast souls. When Zhonglishan witnessed Wang Qiu's abilities, he became a little worried about the other members from Shrek Academy, and so he opted to give everything he had so that he could defeat and kill both the female dark golden terraclaw bear and Wang Qiu as quickly as possible. Afterwards, he would take care of the other members from Shrek, as they were absolutely unwilling to let go of the male dark golden terraclaw bear's beast soul. Wang Qiu and the female dark golden terraclaw bear were starting to look a little desperate and unable to keep up under the circumstances. The Ghost Shadow Leopard Emperor would produce a mighty impact every time it appeared, and it was so strong and terrifying that Wang Qiu was starting to lose her balance. Her 6 soul rings sparkled continuously as she amplified herself, and she tried to retaliate forcefully with her golden dragon spear. The fight became increasingly tiring for her, and if not for the fact that the Ghost Shadow Leopard Emperor was afraid of the golden dragon spear's frightening draconic majesty, she would have probably fallen a long time ago. The female bear's situation was even more dire. She lashed out ferociously with her razor-sharp claws, but she couldn't fend off the two incredibly formidable beast souls. She was weakened from the start, and she had also taken a hit from the stationary soul cannon shell, so she was far from her peak condition. Dark golden fur flew into the sky as wounds that went down to the bone appeared on her body continuously. They can't hold on for much longer. Who are you? Al called out in his mind. He could see with spiritual detection that the battle on the other side was still ongoing. The male dark golden terraclaw bear beast soul was exceptionally powerful, and it could still launch its own menacing attacks despite being outnumbered and besieged. Maya was a titled Douluo, but she had to be a little more reserved in her battle in the interest of her students' safety. They were weakening it continuously, but they would still need a while longer before they could hurry over, while Yua's situation had become urgently perilous. How can I save her? Thoughts and ideas spun in Yua's head as he raced to find a solution. They were 3 8-ringed evil soul masters, and he had no chance if he fought them face to face. He could just continue hiding himself like he was, but the 3 brothers would proceed to the other battlefield once they took care of Yua and the female bear. Yua would then be safe, and he could rendezvous with his companions. However, this thought never once occurred to him, and he never considered deserting his companion, even though he had only met Yua a few times before. Clang! Yua collided once more with the Ghost Shadow Leopard Emperor's sudden attack. She wasn't able to maintain her balance this time, and fell off the female bear's back, while her golden dragon spear stabbed into the air at nothing at all. She was immediately in extreme danger. The female bear's enormous body was covering her as Yua's eyes suddenly sparkled with strange light. Right when she was in immense peril, she swung her golden dragon spear horizontally as she grabbed the fur on the female bear's back. An intense hostility erupted from her body, and a formless aura surged into the sky. The female bear seemed to have been acutely provoked in some way, and she knocked the scarlet golden lion and the netherworld ghost tiger away with 2 continuous paw swipes, while her body seemed to swell a little. Berserk! This was the dark golden terraclaw bear's frightening soul skill, but her body was already extremely weak at this point, so how could she maximize and unleash this soul skill's true power? Yua was still grabbing onto her fur with her right hand, while circle after circle of golden light expanded outward like spinning tops. A dash of grief flickered in her eyes, and she muttered, "I will avenge you." The bear released intense dark golden light, and these colors flowed through Yua's palm and into her body. Right at this moment, both Yua and the 3 brothers suddenly felt as if the weather had turned cold, and an exceedingly sharp aura erupted without warning in the next second. Yua, the 3 brothers, the dark golden terraclaw bear, and the 3 beast souls that were locked in a bit of fight or developed palpitations in the moment when this razor-sharp aura emerged. This felt a frightening pressure from a superior being, as if both heaven and earth were about to collapse. This chill didn't just appear in the air, it surfaced in their hearts. That petrifying chilly feeling, along with that boundless majestic intimidation, immediately made everyone on the battlefield feel horrifying, surging pressure from the air. The reactions of the 3 brothers were very quick. They immediately responded when they realized something was wrong, and they called their origin soul beasts back at the first possible moment. What was more important than protecting themselves? The sky turned dark and gloomy without warning in the next moment, and a strong gust of wind swept across the earth as countless snowflakes danced through the sky, while everyone's vision became extremely blurry. The terrifying blizzard instantly caused the temperature to plummet, and the great Douluo forest's landscape seemed to have transformed completely. The 3 brothers' eyes flowed with suspicion and uncertainty. Their main powers as evil soul masters originated from their beast souls, and they had slain innumerable soul beasts during their lives. They were also exceptionally sensitive towards soul beasts' auras. They could clearly feel that this terrifying pressure came from a soul beast. However, they had never seen such a mighty and formidable ice-type soul beast within the great Douluo forest in all their days. This place wasn't the extreme north. Still, this aura of ultimate ice and snow told them that they were in the presence of a soul beast that was ranked among the 10 great savage beasts. The 3 brothers were initially separated, and they realized in the next moment that they were lost. What astounded them even more was that they couldn't even feel each other's presence anymore. The ice and snow had sealed off their powerful senses, and the snowflakes sliced against their bodies constantly like sharp blades, attempting to tear them into pieces. This ultimate ice and frost was starting to consume their soul power. The radiance on Yua's right hand receded the moment this flurry of ice and snow appeared, and she felt a spiritual connection in the next moment. It's him. Yua immediately understood where all this ice and snow came from, and a shadow arrived next to her in the next moment. This person tugged on her hand and whispered, "Let's go, quickly." Yes, the snowy dance of ultimate ice. Yua's Empress Chill of the Snow Empress 3 ultimate techniques fused with his own domain of perpetual ice. Yua didn't just release the domain's power, he imitated the Snow Empress aura as well. He relied on the domain's concealment to swiftly come to Yua's side. How could he just watch Yua meet her demise? The snowy dance of ultimate ice's area of effect wasn't that large. However, arresting his opponent's senses within the domain was the most important thing to Yua at this moment. However, he was clear that the 3 brothers wouldn't be controlled like this for long, and they would soar into the sky when they realized that they couldn't find their way around inside the domain. The domain's strength would gradually decline the further up they went until the point where it vanished. So Yua and Yua didn't have much time. Yua glanced at the female dark golden terraclaw bear as if she couldn't bear to leave her behind. Her eyes sparkled as she soared into the air, and Yua reacted with astonishment as her golden dragon spear shone with brilliant golden light before it drilled right through the back of the female bear's brain. The female bear fell to the ground in the next moment, and large patches of dark golden light immediately surged through the golden dragon spear and into Yua's body. Yua truly experienced Yua's formidable strength at this moment. The girl dragged him along when she leapt into the air, not burdened by his weight at all. That strength gave Yua a feeling that he had no chance of fighting against it at all. Yua muttered coldly, "I would rather she die at my hands than end up in those 3 bastards' hands and become a tortured soul. Let's go. Let's go." Yua tugged on her once more. They used the domain as cover as they briskly proceeded towards the others from Shrek Academy. However, Yua suddenly paused in his tracks at this moment. The 3 brothers were controlled for a far shorter time than he had thought they would be. They had already soared into the sky, and they now flew directly towards a location that Yua and Yua would definitely pass on their way back to meet up with the others. Yua hesitated momentarily before he pulled Yua in the other direction. He couldn't shift the domain according to his own movements at this moment. He could only maintain the domain at its original location. He pulled Yua as he raced out of the domain, and they began to run for their lives. Over there, someone shouted, and Yua immediately felt his breath shorten as he could feel a terrifying aura behind him. It was clear that they had been discovered. It was exceedingly difficult to run away from the grasp of a group of soul Douluo. Yua had his own plans and preparations since he came out to save Yua. The snowy dance of ultimate ice was originally intended for him to meet up with Yua before anything else. He pounced forward explosively and let go of Yua's hand as he tapped his foot on the ground and his body spun around in midair. The heavy cannon that had left a deep and lasting impression in Zhongli and Zhongliren's minds appeared once more, and a horrifying bluish-purple light erupted while Yua was sent hurtling backward by the incredibly powerful recoil. He displayed his impeccable calculation skills at this moment. His body crashed into Yua as he was sent flying backwards. Yua subconsciously hugged him around the waist as they were blown backwards at breakneck speed, while the terrifying Class 7 stationary soul cannon shell flew directly towards the brothers who were pursuing them. The sky was tainted bluish-purple by the deafening and violent explosions. Fanru had favored Yua, and he had seen Yua's potential for the soul tool department back then. His spiritual detection combined with stationary soul cannons unleashed their fearsome power once more. This cannon shell was fired right at a spot that the 3 brothers would cross on their way to him under Yua's accurate calculations. It gave the 3 evil soul Douluo the feeling that they had walked right into the cannon shell. Explosions shook the forest, and even Soul Douluo couldn't just disregard a Class 7 stationary soul cannon's might. Yua took this opportunity and dragged Yua on as they disappeared into the forest. The 3 brothers struggled out from the explosions aftershocks after a few seconds. Their faces were as black as could be. Zhonglishan was raging as he said, "Bastard, they've killed that dark golden terraclaw bear so, too. Loren, go after those 2 little rascals. Liddy, go check out that bear and see if her beast soul is still intact. I'll go back for the male bear's beast soul. All right." Liren transformed into a cloud as he raced in pursuit of Wang Qiu, and Huo Yuao. He activated his senses to the highest possible level as his ghost shadow leopard emperor followed closely behind him. Huo Yuao had borrowed the cannon's recoil to propel himself backward. He had crashed into Wang Qiu and had meant for her to use this force to escape as quickly as they could. However, when their momentum was about to come to an end, he realized something wasn't right. Wang Qiu's body wasn't as tough as her strength made it seem. Rather, it was exceptionally soft and tender. Huo Yuao had hugged Wang Donga before, and Wang Donga's body was a little bouncier, and the faint fragrance that a girl had would enchant him. Huo Yuao felt a lot different as he came into contact with Wang Qiu at such a close distance. Wang Qiu's body was actually much softer than Wang Donga's body, and her aroma wasn't the fresh fragrance that young girls normally had. Instead, she smelled like sunlight. It was equally fragrant, but at a completely different style altogether. They landed onto the ground at the same time, and didn't even bother saying a word to each other as they turned around to run. They realized that they couldn't meet up with their companions anymore, and the only thing they could do was run, as the brothers' reach covered the entire region. They no longer had that dark gold and terraclaw bear's aid, and their only outcome was death if this soul Douluo caught up with them. They turned around to run. Wang Qiu's right foot pushed off heavily against the ground, and a crack like an explosion was audible as she pulled Huo Yuao along, and the two of them surged forward as if they were riding the clouds. This strength is just so fearsome, Huo Yuao was thought, but he didn't stop moving. Right when their momentum was slowing down, he activated the soul thrusters on his back as he held onto her, and raced forward once more. Their coordination was seamless. The two of them relied on this coordination as they meandered through the forest with lightning speed. Huo Yuao's judgment was as accurate as ever, and they avoided all the vegetation as much as they could while they pushed forward frantically. Let's split up. Wang Qiu suddenly blurted. Huo Yuao snapped around towards her and said solemnly, "No, those evil soul masters have beast souls, and a splitting up will be equally futile. We can only run faster if we work together, and we will have a higher chance of survival." Wang Qiu stared at him as she asked, "Why did you come to save me? Can't you tell that your girlfriend doesn't like me?" Huo Yuao gazed straight ahead as they continued coordinating to push forward. He gave a very natural answer. "We're schoolmates. How can I just let you die?" Wang Qiu's mouth twitched, and she said arrogantly, "I wouldn't have died." Huo Yuao said exasperatedly, "Is your pride more important, or is your life more important? Let's not talk about all that and focus on running away." Wang Qiu turned back around at him and took a deep breath before she said, "Thank you, Herr." Huo Yuao chuckled. He couldn't relax even for a little bit, and all his focus and concentration was on blitzing forward. He didn't pay attention to something that Wang Qiu mumbled under her breath. "What did you say?" Huo Yuao asked subconsciously. Wang Qiu shook her head and said, "Nothing. That bastard seems to have caught up." Yes, Liren had caught up with them. It didn't take them very long to run several kilometers away, but Liren still caught up with them in the end. He was just so much stronger than Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu in terms of cultivation. Watch out. Wang Qiu suddenly moved as she pushed Huo Yuao away heavily with her right hand before she turned around and thrust her golden dragon spear into the air. Ding. Wang Qiu's body was tossed away with the crisp sound of a collision, and the ghost shadow leopard emperor revealed itself. Not even Huo Yuao's spiritual detection could capture its ambush. That's it. Huo Yuao grit his teeth as he planted his foot on a tall tree in front of him, turning around and charging back. Liren and that ghost shadow leopard emperor were just too quick, to the point where they had no chance of escaping. Under such circumstances, their only chance to survive was to fight with everything they had. Huo Yuao's body erupted once more with intense chill when he turned back around. A golden vertical eye opened on his forehead at the same time, and his spiritual detection received a great boost. He shared his spiritual detection with Wang Qiu as they were finally able to capture the leopard's movements. Huo Yuao raised his right hand and lashed out with his dark golden terraclaw. He collided with the leopard in midair with a shrill clanging sound, but the ghost shadow leopard emperor was forced to stop in midair. Wang Qiu was extremely ferocious as her golden dragon spear transformed into a golden lightning bolt and arrived before the leopard. With spiritual detection, their cooperation was as seamless as if Wang Qiu had been working together with Huo Yuao for many years. The ghost shadow leopard emperor was formidable, but it was still a little fearful of Wang Qiu's golden dragon spear. Its body suddenly became illusory when the brilliant golden light was about to hit, and all Wang Qiu struck was a shadow. Huo Yuao's soul thrusters activated as they propelled him back to Wang Qiu's position. He didn't use the snowy dance of ultimate ice. The domain was mighty, but it also limited their movement and freedom. This was especially true since this domain didn't distinguish between friends and enemies, so Wang Qiu would also be affected inside this domain. Huo Yuao believed that the domain would end up affecting their abilities and autonomy, and it would be over for them as long as Liren had some patience, or if he had some attack that covered an area. Liren was only one beat behind the leopard, and his poisonous gaze seemed like it was piercing right into Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu's souls. The ghost shadow leopard emperor appeared next to him, and even though it was a beast soul, its brown body continuously emanated an intense pressure. Run. Why aren't you guys running anymore? You think you can outrun my ghost shadow leopard emperor of your speed? I originally believed that we had sustained heavy losses, but now my mind has changed. A dark golden terraclaw soul bone. Very good, that soul bone shall be mine. You guys have such power at such a young age, and it seems like your identities and experiences are quite extraordinary. It's a pity, because today will be the day you die. I will torture the two of you and listen to your agonizing wails for 7 days before I'll let the two of you die, to make up for my losses. Liren had reverted back from his martial soul true body as he spoke. He was only faced with two young soul masters, and he didn't believe he would need his martial soul true body to fight. Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu were already dead in his eyes. Huo Yuao's eyes sparkled as he took a deep breath. He knew that this would probably be the most difficult battle of his life, and possibly even his last battle. His fighting will wasn't weakened at all in the face of such a mighty adversary. Instead, it was slowly rising, and he felt stronger the more powerful his opponent was. This was the profundity of the sovereign's descent. A layer of golden light gradually shimmered on his body, and he subconsciously grasped Wang Qiu's hand as he infused his soul power into her. "Hey!" Wang Qiu exclaimed softly. Huo Yuao was also momentarily stunned, and he interrupted the process. "What am I doing?" "She's Wang Qiu, not Wang Donga. She doesn't have any martial soul fusion skills with me." However, right when he was withdrawing his soul power, an intense pulling force emerged in his body, and a powerful string of soul power that was charged with arrogance flowed swiftly into his body. Intense golden light immediately erupted from both of their bodies. Huo Yuao's eyes grew slack, and he would have shouted out loud if they weren't facing a powerful enemy. This is not possible. Yes, his soul power had fused with Wang Qiu's soul power, just like that. Through that instant of connection, this fusion was something that he had never felt before. He wouldn't have been too surprised if he had fused with Wang Qiu's soul power to produce something like the Hadong power that he shared with Wang Donga, and all he would have suspected was whether Wang Qiu was related to Wang Donga by blood. However, their soul power fusion was nothing of the sort. The first thing that fused when their soul power touched wasn't the soul power itself. It was the spiritual power contained within their respective soul powers. Their spiritual powers fused to such an extent that Huo Yuao felt as if he was Wang Qiu, and Wang Qiu was him in that instant. Spiritual power guided Huo Yuao's soul power to fuse with Wang Qiu's soul power as he had that momentary befuddlement, and they completed a process that should have taken a much longer time to finish. Huo Yuao was absolutely sure that his martial soul fusion with Wang Qiu was 100% compatible. That instance of connection charged his entire body with strength. A layer of golden dragon scales started to appear over Huo Yuao's body after their martial soul's connection. Very different from his martial soul fusion with Wang Donga. He could feel that his strength was climbing exponentially, and even his spiritual power felt the same way. Wang Qiu seemed to have fused with him completely. Wang Qiu was a lot calmer in comparison to Huo Yuao's astonishment. She gripped Huo Yuao's hands tightly, and she raised her golden dragon spear with her left hand, which shone with intense golden light and pierced straight toward Liren. Liren was equally astounded as he saw their martial souls fuse, and his expression became a little more solemn than before. He hadn't seen Huo Yuao release his soul rings yet, but he could tell from his soul power undulations that Huo Yuao was just a 5-ringed soul king, and Wang Qiu only had 6 rings. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.